What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video. And yes, deja vu, I have an Honor Magic V2 again. For those that don't watch the channel, I am the Average Dad and I review foldable phones for the most part with a Chinese ROM. And I have owned the Honor Magic V2 maybe 8 times now, at least 7. And this is my nearly 1 year on review. Yes, for those living under a rock that think the Honor Magic V2 only came out a few months ago, it didn't. It has been available for nearly a year from the Chinese market. And again, that is where I specialise in my content. I import phones from WONDA Mobile, link in description. Ultimately, folks, there's not many differences between a Chinese ROM and a global ROM device. I'll get into that in a second. I also want to get into my thoughts a year after the Honor Magic V2 was released and continue my Take 2 series. Let's go. So before we get deep into the phone itself, I do just want to clarify the difference between a Chinese ROM, read-only memory, and a global read-only memory. Ultimately, there are two big differences. No Android Auto available on the Chinese ROM, and no smartwatch connectivity for watches that are newer than 3 years that run Wear OS. Other than that, if it's a Huawei watch, an Oppo watch, a Honor watch, that's going to connect fine. Garmin will connect fine. Older Wear OS devices, including Samsung Galaxy with the, I believe they call it, is it the Tizer chip? It's probably not that. But those work fine on Chinese ROM devices as well. And I am going to make a dedicated video on the Android Auto subject because for about 30 quid, you can have your Chinese ROM device running Android Auto with no issues in pretty much every car. But I'll talk about that in another video. Now that you know the differences between the features of the Chinese ROM and the global ROM, there's one more big difference that matters, and it's price. The Honor Magic V2, as mentioned, was released globally in January, coming in at £1,600. However, you can get £200, sometimes £300 off that with Honor special vouchers. You get free tablet or free headphones. So there's some good deals to be had, but ultimately you're still going to be paying around £1,300 or £1,400 cash for that device. For the very same phone, half terabyte version, 16 gigabytes of RAM from WONDA Mobile, again, link in description, you can get it for just over £1,060. So under £1,100, and you've got the world's thinnest foldable phone. So that's a good place to start. When I first unboxed this nearly 11 months ago, I was blown away at just the dimensions. I had never seen, and to this day, still have never seen a foldable phone so thin. This phone is so thin that it just feels like a normal S23, S24 Ultra or iPhone Pro Max variant phone. It's incredible that they have managed to keep a near 8-inch display on the inside and a 6.4-inch display on the outside. All within a folded dimension area of under 1 centimetre. Yes, 9.9 millimetres folded. And if you're interested, unfolded, it's around 4.6 millimetres. Now, I touched on the displays there, and what still rings true is these are fantastic 1600 nits of peak brightness displays on the outside and in. Both run at 120 Hz and both are super premium and sharp. The one thing about foldable phones you have to be wary of is the inner screen. For obvious reasons, it can't be Gorilla Glass or normal glass. It has to be ultra thin glass, normally with a little plastic layer as well. What I will say is the Honor Magic V2 was one of the first phones to feel like actual glass. The Samsung Z Fold 3 and Z Fold 4 had like a almost plasticky feel. Well, the V2 feels like ultra thin glass. It's just glass. Crease wise as well, the V2 was one of the, along with the Oppo Find N series, one of the first foldables to almost eliminate a crease. And to this day, viewing content on the inner screen is just fantastic. Using your phone for productivity, multitasking. Using the stylus pen on the outer and inner screen. Yes, Honor was one of the first to allow this to happen. For those that are going to say in the comments, Samsung have stylus support, have done for years. Yes, they have, but not on the outer screen, only on the inner. The V2 was one of the first to offer both outer and inner screen stylus support. Now, a real benefit of foldable phones is that multitasking, the productivity, having 3 or 4 apps open at the same time. Now, realistically, I have 2 open normally. A left-hand vertical app and a right-hand vertical app on the inside. Easy to copy and paste, easy to read notes and transcribe or do whatever you're doing. Or maybe you want to split them horizontally. You can have YouTube up the top, viewing the comments down the bottom, viewing websites on the bottom. Productivity-wise, if you work, you can have Microsoft Teams on one, Outlook, Zoom, however you want to set your phone up. That's the benefit of a true large format foldable device. None of these flip phones or the S24 Ultra that has multitasking that basically just halves your screen so you've got a 3-inch display for each app. That's rubbish. If you want to multitask properly and be productive properly, you need a large format foldable phone. And doing that with the V2 has been a breeze. Now, other hardware aspects, it's a triple camera setup. The V2 was released just after the Honor Magic 5 Pro, and last year the Honor Magic 5 Pro was one of the most underrated flagship camera phones of 2023. The triple camera setup has essentially almost been lifted and shifted onto the V2, with the big difference being the telephoto lens. Instead of the 3x optical or 3.5 times optical you got on the 5 Pro, it's a 2.5 optical. And anything up to 10, even 20 times zoom is absolutely fine, and you're going to get some really good photos. But anything beyond that isn't great. And from the wide and ultra wide shots, I'm a fan. I like the colours. The only thing I don't like about the camera experience is actually the camera app. Everything's just so almost childish. It feels like, you know, if you've bought one of those VTech cameras for your kids, it feels like that UI. And I like mine a bit more pro-like a Xiaomi phone or a Vivo phone. But photos and videos themselves, totally fine. To good, not just fine, let's say good. Now, when the V2 was released, it wasn't just the world's thinnest foldable phone. It was the first foldable phone to have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Yes, just to clarify that in here, there's 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, they've managed that by having 2 separate 2,500 milliamp hour cells, just slightly thicker than a credit card. Just insane. And it charges wired at 66 watts. One thing the V2 is missing though is wireless charging. While you can get wireless charging on the X Fold 3 Pro and on the Huawei Mate X5 and X3, it's not available on the V2, which may be a deal breaker for some. Now, other elements of the hardware, and I have to be completely honest here, I don't actually use in the V2, but it does have it, is OTG. USB-C 3.2, you can mirror your screen, you can put an HDMI, mini HDMI port, and you can have your Honor run like a laptop mode, like Samsung DeX, or you can just use your phone on a large screen, however you want to do it. It does have DisplayPort out. A feature that I rarely use on any phone, if I'm being honest. I do test it out for review purposes, but I've never really seen the big benefit of a Samsung DeX mode, because for DeX mode to work, you need to be near a monitor or a TV, and if I'm near a monitor or TV, then I'm probably with my MacBook. So anyway, that's just me, my experience. If you are one of those people that likes to have your mobile phone as your main laptop as well, then the Honor can do that. Now, I talked about the differences with Chinese ROMs and global ROMs at the start of the video. I do just want to touch on the Honor Magic V2's journey to get Google services. When I first purchased the Honor Magic V2 10 months ago, it came with no Google services. It was essentially treated like a Huawei phone, which made no sense because Huawei and Honor split about 4 years ago, so I was completely confused. My first experience software-wise was having to run virtual Gbox or Gspace apps in order to get the Google Play Store. And while it worked kind of, it wasn't great. So, through my videos, and I'm sticking with this, I'm confident this helped. Through my videos and your support and the Average Dad community, which is thousands of people strong now, we pestered and pestered Honor. I sold nearly 400, yes, me alone, sold nearly 400 Honor Magic V2s through my WONDA affiliate link. Those sales importing phones to the UK and Europe have absolutely meant that Honor had to take notice and give us Google services. So it started with a Google Mobile Services beta update until eventually Magic OS 8 was released, and that's what this V2 has. This V2 comes installed with Google Mobile Services, so you're getting everything as normal, but because it's still a Chinese ROM inside, you've got that Android issue. You've got that Android Auto issue and smartwatch issue I mentioned at the top. But everything else, your Google Play Store's native. It's just on the device. You've got Google Pay, no problems at all. Banking apps, no problem at all. Wi-Fi calling. There's so much on this device, it's just normal. And as I mentioned, I'll make a separate video, but I keep hearing that Android Auto is a deal breaker. Folks, there's a very inexpensive way to get Android Auto in your car. Now, a few other things to mop up here with the Honor Magic V2. Inside is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip. For my money, today, I think the 8 Gen 2 chip might be better efficiency-wise than the 8 Gen 3 chip. I've mentioned that I've got the X Fold 3 and the X Fold 3 Pro, and I've done battery comparisons. Consistently, my X Fold 3 standard is getting 2 hours roughly more screen on time. I don't have to charge my phone within 2 days, ever. It's always a 2-day phone. Whereas an 8 Gen 3 chip, even though the Pro has a slightly larger battery, I do have to charge it within 2 days. So the Honor Magic V2 does benefit from having the 8 Gen 2 chip. This can be a 2-day phone with medium to light usage. However, it is always a full day phone. No matter how much you want to video in 4K, you want to game, you want to do whatever you want to do with this device, you're not going to kill it in a day, or you're certainly going to struggle to kill it in a day. Now, before I go, there's another huge benefit of the Honor Magic V2 being nearly a year old. I talked about the import price, but now, because the market has been kind of flooded with V2s over the past year in the European and UK market, probably US as well, but mostly UK and European market. If you go onto eBay or Gumtree or other third-party seller sites, you can pick up an Honor Magic V2, half a terabyte of storage, 16 gigabytes of RAM, mint condition or really good condition, for around about £700. I actually, because this phone here has some light scratchings on the outer screen, I actually sold it to one of the Average Dad members, which, by the way, is another perk of being a member. You get first shout on any of my devices, and I always take a minimum of 10% off either the retail or 10% off what I've paid for the device secondhand. If you want to join that group, buy me a coffee here. Sign up to be a member. There's levels from $5 all the way up to like $25. Pick whatever one you like. Whatever one you decide to sign up to will get you access to the WhatsApp group chat. It'll also get you monthly giveaway access. And as I mentioned, this V2 I just sold to a member for £550. Yes, you heard me. 50% off retail price for a really good condition, half terabyte of storage Honor Magic V2, the world's thinnest foldable phone, for £550. Before I finish off completely, that's what she said, I do just want to shout out Honor here. The Magic V2 was one of the first foldable phones to really blow me away. I love the Vivo X Fold series, and until the X Fold 3 that yeah, that's taken it to a whole new level. There's so many other foldable phones that have been released, but the V2 was one that just, as I say, the biggest battery, the thinnest device, one of the lightest foldable phones. In fact, at the time, it was the lightest foldable device on the planet. It broke through so many barriers, and it has brought things a bit more mainstream. It is a global variant now as well to compete with the Google Pixel Fold, the OnePlus Open, and the Samsung Z Fold series. So we have to applaud Honor. And I'm excited to see what happens with the V3, which, by the way, depending when you're watching this video, it might be almost out because we're almost a year since the V2. The only thing Honor need to sort out is their whole marketing strategy and release campaign. If you want a laugh, go back and look at some of my videos talking about this. I made a whole dedicated Honor video talking about the 5 Pro, the V2, and all other Honor phones. But my God, they get this so wrong. It took, what, 8 months, 7 months to release the V2 globally after they released it in China. By that point, the 8 Gen 3 chip had been out for months. The V3 is only a few months away. So, yeah, Honor need to get that part of their game right. But for the part that matters, the phones, I think they hit the nail on the head more often than not. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little Take 2 video. I do like a Take 2 series. This will be an ongoing thing where I revisit phones 6 to 12 months later. I also am making a thing of when phones failed. Yes, I have decided to make that a series based on the positive feedback and comments I got on the Red Hydrogen 1 video. That was a 5-year-old device that had all this big expectations and hoopla and ultimately went bust and failed. I have another When Phones Failed episode 2 coming about a particular kind of foldable device. Average Dad members already know what it is. You can guess in the comments what you think it's going to be, but give me a week and I'll have that one out as well. Until next time.